There's fucking cops surrounding this whole entire fucking building right now.
There's something going on in this building.
I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a senator elected and to make sure
Oh my God.
back to the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America.
There's somebody in this building.
And it's not easy because we have millions and millions.
Make yourself small, bro. I don't know what's going on.
Wow, that sounded like eight similar shots and a ninth one that was different.
Yeah, there it is. I mean, it's the definitive video. That's David Stew's video that was given to the FBI. He was the closest one on the scene. He was there. He's from Butler and recorded that. It was given back to him last night. It was released late last night nationally. I picked it up. Kelly ran with it. The acoustics are clear. You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. In this particular case, those were the 8 shots and the 9th shot taking him out. Again, this is literally 75 feet from the shooter. Totally composed guy. I asked him to come on Friday. We'll see if we can get him on the show. Totally composed. It goes on for quite a while before and after the shooting. Kept his cool under fire. Amazing video by him, by DJ. And again, that was the one the FBI asked for, received, and got back. He got it back last night. And I want to point out there's also a wonderful sniper analyst who was analyzing the second window, second shooter scenario. Very nice guy. We'll put the link up in the bottom after the show. And he explained to a layman nitwit like me that stepping back from the window, a second window, which he shows in his video where it is, and it's right above where Crooks is lying down. It's the window that Eric was talking about. And he goes into detail from the video showing that how small the window is. And the further back you get from the window to shoot out of, the smaller the aperture and box becomes, and how narrow the width and height of your possible shooting visibility becomes. In other words,
it's like cropping a picture.
It's like, and I didn't understand it until he got into it and said to all the people who were saying acoustically, this is a shot taken. He said, I'm not opposed to the idea of stepping back from the window so you don't have a gun hanging out a window. We're trained to do that. And if you step back, the further you step back in that warehouse-like room, the smaller the window becomes. And it is a small window. It becomes like a postage stamp to simply shoot out of, with no lateral or longitudinal ability to go up or down. And he shows you the shot out the window, thereby doing away with the second gunman. He then analyzes the water tower. He says, you can't stand up there. It's totally slippery, totally round. There's no tripod. It's insane. He's been on the catwalks of water towers. You can't stand on top of some 190-foot water tower with no tripod and just get off accurate shootings. He shows you the entire thing in his video. What we have and what I thought, and I wish people would have waited, like I said, is now Matthew Crooks, 8 shots, counter sniper team took him out. That's 9. That's what we have, folks. The conspiracy is not there. It's in the stripping of the Secret Service. It's in the Cheney household. It's in the Biden White House. And if that's not enough for you, I don't think this is the channel for you. There are other places you can go, because we try to take, or at least I do, try to take these things very seriously and not get distracted down rabbit holes for 10 years. And I said this before when it first happened. It took us 60 years to get resolution into where we are in the Kennedy assassination. This thing is not going to be resolved in 60 minutes or 60 hours. And I beg people not to go down these rabbit holes and distract the American people who support Trump on this area, because there's enough meat on this bone for people who believe there was a conspiracy, and I'm one of them, to not go into second, third, fourth, fifth drone shooters and other aspects of this case that are not necessary. Whoever came out first with that acoustic stuff, I said, this is crazy. We don't even have the video of the people closest to the event with their audio. That's what this guy DJ's got. That's what I was waiting for last night, and that's what we just aired. Maybe we could put up a little bit more of it later, but there's more to that video. But I wanted you to hear the acoustic sound of it. You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows in terms of acoustics with this sound. A layman can hear it, and that's what it was. This guy's 40 feet away, and anybody can hear what's going on there. Thanks, Eric. Thank you.
Yep. Well, and we already have, a conspiracy. We got. We're going to spend some time, I imagine, with Roe today, and his appearance in front of Congress. So I wanted to start with this. Here, I've got two videos. Here's the first one, short point.
This was a failure of imagination. A failure to imagine that we actually do live in a very dangerous world where people do actually want to do harm to our protectees.
Wow.
I think it was a failure to challenge our own assumptions. The assumptions that we know our partners are going to do everything they can. Listen. And they do this every day. But we didn't challenge our own assumptions of...
Note what he said. Our partners are going to do what they're going to say. They do this every day. Take note of that. There's more to come.
We assume that someone's going to cover that. We assume that there's going to be uniform presence.
Wow.
We didn't challenge that internally during that advance.
Okay. And I've got a follow-up video here because I'm showing you what he's doing.
Yeah.
He brought props with him.
Oh, boy.
And here we go.
Exciting.
Here are the props.
Oh, look at that.
This is from the second floor of the AGR building. This point of view is the point of view where the counter sniper team locally was posted. The gold arrow indicates where the shooter fired from. Looking left. Why was the assailant not seen?
Was they supposed
when
to
we were
raise their hand?
told that building was going to be covered,
there we go.
that there had been a face-to-face that afternoon, that our team leads met. This was the view. Let me show you another view, Senator.
Whoa. Whoa. What is it, Rose?
This view is a reenactment by one of my agents.
Laying
Crooks? Flat. There was a 5-inch rise on the middle of that roof. The assailant would have had to present his bore over that to get his shot off. The view underneath reflects the perspective that he would have had. Again, I call your attention back to the first exhibit if they'd have looked left. Give me C.
Give me C.
This is what our counter sniper team saw. Shooter, no elbows. You barely make out the crown of his head. Below it, the assailant up prone. And let me just tell you, our counter sniper, this individual, I know him. I consider him a friend. He has covered me operationally in conflict zones. And when I did my time on the president's detail, he exemplifies the courage, the skill.
All right. I didn't know.
What is? No, I didn't see that, but I don't know what the relevance is.
This is him saying those locals didn't watch the
Oh,
room.
right.
It was
Okay,
the locals' fault. That's
Well,
totally what he's
right.
doing. He's
Okay,
laying
but the
groundwork.
locals
locals.
have gone on ABC News as a group to get ahead of these guys
Mhm.
in a publicist. And the senators pointed out the senators are much better than the congressmen because they have all the time they want. They have said, "What is your response?" Because the locals have now, as a group, gone on ABC News in an exclusive to say they have no fault whatsoever. And these guys, everybody's pointing fingers, is what I'm getting at.
Oh, yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
the questioning by Mike Lee, Hawley, and
Got all
Cruz,
those here.
dude, you got to run those. That made my morning. I couldn't believe how great this was. Why don't you run Josh Hawley first if you can?
Hawley, all right.
Yeah, maybe not the whole thing, but as much Hawley as you feel.
Hawley's probably the most heated, so we can definitely roll with that for a while.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Is dead, that other Americans were critically wounded. Isn't that enough mission failure for you to say that the person who decided that building should not be in the security perimeter probably ought to be stepped down?
Senator, I think you're using the word decided, and I think we need to allow the investigation play out to include.
Who did make the decision then? If it wasn't the lead site agent, who made the decision not to put that in the security perimeter?
Senator, you're zeroing in on one particular agent. I want to find out exactly what was the entire decision process. So I think I want to be neutral and make sure that we get to the bottom of it and interview everybody in order to determine if there was more than one person who perhaps exercised bad judgment.
Well, sure. My question is, why don't you relieve everybody of duty who made bad judgment? So, yeah, you're right. I am zeroing in on somebody. I'm trying to find somebody who's accountable here.
And
you're telling me that the person who made the decision not to include this in the perimeter has not been relieved of duty. What about the person who's in charge of the interoperability of radio frequencies between local law enforcement and Secret Service? Has that person been relieved of duty?
No, Senator, because interoperability is a challenge, is a greater challenge than just one person. On that day, we had a counterpart system. It failed.
As the person who made the decision to send Donald Trump onto stage, knowing that you had a security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir, they haven't.
Has the person who decided not to pull the former president off of stage when you knew that, in your words, the locals were working a serious security situation, has that person been relieved of duty?
No, sir. Again, I refer you back to my original answer that we are investigating this through a mission assurance. And as opposed to zeroing in on one,
what more do you need to investigate to know
exactly what the
what more do you need to investigate to know that there were critical enough failures that some individuals ought to be held accountable? I mean, what more do you need to know?
What I need to know is exactly what happened, and I need my investigators to do their job. And I cannot.
A lot of people didn't do their jobs.
Put my thumb on the scale. Otherwise,
what do you mean put your thumb on the
objective? Scale? You're asking me, Senator, to completely make a rush to judgment about somebody failing. I acknowledge this was a failure of the Secret
Is it not
Service.
prima facie that somebody has failed? A former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days,
then
just like you have.
Somebody
and I will tell you, Senator, that I will not rush to judgment, that people will be held accountable, and I will do so with integrity. And not rush to judgment and put people
again another plug for the book.
Unfairly persecuted.
Unfairly,
people
sir,
who are
we
dead.
have to be able to have a proper investigation into this, Senator.
You said earlier that you've got to make sure that your protocols are followed, and unless there's a protocol violation, people wouldn't be disciplined. I would just say to you, I don't really care that much about your protocols.
Right on.
I think if your protocols don't provide for the fact that when a former president is shot, when an American is killed, when other rally goers, innocent people who just showed up on the day, when they are shot at and critically wounded, if that isn't a protocol violation prima facie, you should revise your protocols.
Senator, I think this is where you and I agree. This was a failure, and we will get to the bottom of it.
Well, I hope you're going to do something about it. Let me ask you something else. The Real Clear Politics reports this morning that you were directly involved in denying additional security resources and personnel, including counter snipers, not just to this event, but over the last 2 years. President Trump's team repeatedly asked for these additional resources, and you personally were involved in denying them. Is that true?
Senator, as I stated earlier, that is not true.
So you never denied any resources to former President Trump's team?
He's lying.
No, not me. No,
And,
sir.
lying.
and you
First
weren't involved in any of that. You
No,
were never
sir,
involved in the
no.
decision making.
No, sir, I was not.
All right.
Let me
Okay.
ask
So
you
let's
just one
just
or
hold it
two
for
other
a
things
second
here
so we
quickly.
can just comment on this.
Well, whistleblowers tell me
Really
that
quick. Yeah.
I just want to comment on this because Bongino is saying that this guy is lying, and that here's the problem. There's two problems. One is they have formed a socialist style cabal of leadership in every single Biden administration. So their group think is directed behind the scenes in his war room. He can't be pinned down as to who did it because there is no who did it. And that's Hawley and Lee and Cruz don't really say that. But what they're drilling down into is the fact that they have stumbled into a style of governorship that is now happening in every single department of the Biden administration. It's terrifying, but you will come to the same conclusion if you watch the hearings this morning as I did. He has no answer as to who did what about anything and he's afraid to say it. It is a group decision that was led by Cheadle and a group, just like behind Biden, there's a group. In every single thing, it's a group. If what's her name, Elizabeth Harris, disappeared tomorrow, she could be replaced by Elizabeth Warren, and the same campaign would continue for presidency to November of this year's election. On the other side is one man, Trump, and everybody's rooting for him or not rooting for him based on his individual personality. It's a completely socialist mentality now. And this is my take on it, because the hearing, he cannot name one name who made any decision anywhere at any time, Eric. And that is a great takeaway from these hearings.
Well, look at Biden's dropout letter.
Yeah.
When he said, "I serve the party."
Yes, absolutely. But
Then
within
he said
the party is this cabal, and that's why they feel comfortable running Harris, because Harris is not going to be the decision maker, just like Biden was. And just like this guy, as Bongino pointed out, this was the physical guy who Cheadle was a front woman. Cheadle was a figurehead who was linked with the Cheney family, worked for the Cheney family, Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney as his personal valet, Secret Service person, even after she left the service. This guy is now the guy who is the acting director of the Secret Service. This is not an intelligence unit. They receive intelligence from other sources, and they then vote internally. There is a portion of this, and maybe we can get to it, where I think Cruz or Lee says to him, how many people were diverted away to Jill Biden? And boy, does he shuffle on that.
That was Cruz. I'll get to that. I want to finish Hawley.
Go ahead.
Because,
Go ahead.
There's a point I want to get into.
Great stuff. Go ahead.
Maggie.
No, sir, I was not.
Let me ask you just one or two other things here quickly. Well, whistleblowers tell me that, in fact, law enforcement were stationed to be on that roof.
Yeah.
And that law enforcement abandoned their post because it was too hot. Is that accurate?
Senator, I have heard that as well. They posted up inside. And I think moving forward, as I said earlier, we're going to ensure that state and local counter snipers are on roofs.
But do you know if someone was supposed to be on the roof? Do you know if someone was in fact? That's what the whistleblowers tells me. That may or may not be accurate. Do you know that to be the fact? Was somebody posted to the roof, local law enforcement or whomever?
I do not know that to be a fact.
Well, can I ask you why you don't know that?
Again, Senator, we are looking at this, and they should have been on that roof. And the fact that they were in the building is something that I'm still trying to understand.
I just want to express my frustration, Director, that 17 days or whatever it's been, that whistleblowers are telling us more than you are, and you don't know. You haven't ascertained if there was supposed to be law enforcement on the roof. That seems like a pretty basic fact. I'm also told that local law enforcement suppliers offered the Secret Service drones, and you declined them. Is that true?
So, Senator, one, I've been very transparent and forthcoming.
Your agency has not been transparent and forthcoming.
Thank you.
No. That's one of my favorite statement analysis things. That's like, I got to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like, versus before. You
Yeah.
never, when you lay out this is called a resume statement.
Right.
You use that to say, I am a hero. I am a good guy. So whatever comes out of my mouth, you've got to believe.
Right. Well, the same phrase is, can I be honest with you? Like, were you dishonest with me before? I mean, of course, I expect you to be honest with me.
Exactly. So I want to hear the rest of this because I got the recording.
So please, let's not go there.
I have been forthcoming, sir.
You've been, that remains to be seen. You've been on the job a few days. So far, you fired nobody. Now, the drones.
About 15 years.
Were you offered drones?
Senator
So there
Harvey.
was an offer to fly a drone on that day.
And why did you deny it?
Again, I think the ability of local law enforcement to provide an asset, we probably should have taken them up on it if it was offered.
Okay, now I wanted to catch that because here is more information on that. This is the reporting from Susan Crabtree of Real Clear Politics, who's done good work. Supposedly, Rowe responds that the issues surrounding unmanned aerial systems are a little complex and involve capabilities that state and local law enforcement don't necessarily have access to. He says there has to be coordination with the FAA because it could impact commercial flights. Why do I care about that? I happened to just go take a test today. And a major part of the test was, where can you fly a drone? It turns out, if we look at a map here, this is called a sectional map.
The hell is
And this is, it's kind of hard to see, but this is a Pittsburgh Class C Butler area.
Wow.
And you see all these fuzzy lines here?
Yeah.
Okay, that is a Class E or Class G airspace. Class E here inside, Class G outside. Class G means good to go. Like just anybody can, fly there up to 400 feet. No problem. Inside of those fuzzy lines, it's Class G as well, underneath the Class E airspace. So you can you're good to go for up to 700 feet, but drones are limited to 400 feet anyway. So he's full of shit, is what I'm telling you.
Okay, good one.
I'm a basic hack who just got
Captain
it.
Hunley. I like this. He's getting his drone pilot's license today.
And,
way to go, Hunley.
Anyway, I just looked that up.
Hunley's going to form his own drone air force to fight back against Iran. Go, Hunley. I like
there
this.
You go. There you
right
go.
on, brother.
So
Okay,
I just
so
wanted
we
to share that.
watched. Did we finish with Hawley? And now we go to
Hawley's
Cruz?
done. Cruz is the hottest one. That's when
Cruz is hot.
The
Cruz is
screaming.
hot.
I mean,
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh, and he starts screaming back at Cruz. So this one gets.
Oh, this is hotter. This is hotter. They don't like each other.
Mr. Rowe, thank you for being here. I agree with what you said at the outset that the individual Secret Service agents demonstrated remarkable personal courage, putting their bodies in between the line of sight of the shooter and the president. That being said, the bravery of the line agents is quite different from the decisions of Secret Service leadership. Secret Service leadership committed catastrophic security failures, indeed the worst security failures for the Secret Service since 1981, since the attempted assassination of President Ronald Reagan. It is incumbent upon this committee to determine why those security failures happened. Just after the shooting, Secret Service put out an official statement from your spokesperson that says there's an untrue assertion that a member of the former president's team requested additional security resources and that those were rebuffed. This is absolutely false. In fact, we added protective resources and technology and capabilities as part of the increased campaign travel tempo. Was this tweet accurate?
With respect to Butler, Pennsylvania, it is accurate, sir.
It is accurate that the Trump team had not asked for additional security and had not been rebuffed.
If you're talking about Butler, Pennsylvania, all assets requested were approved. If you're talking about
so you've been refusing. So now we're going to get really tight on our focus.
Douchebag.
With Butler, no.
Now he's pissed off a lawyer who's very sharp, who's now going to drill into his asshole. Go ahead.
The media reporting of assets requested There were times when assets were unavailable and not able to be filled, and those gaps were staffed with state and local law enforcement tactical assets.
Who I'm going to
So
blame now?
I'm reading from the Washington Post, July 20th, 2024. Secret Service said to have denied requests for more security at Trump events. The opening paragraph, top officials of the U.S. Secret Service repeatedly denied requests for additional resources and personnel sought by Donald Trump's security detail in the 2 years leading up to his attempted assassination, according to 4 people familiar with the requests. Is that right, that repeatedly the Trump detail asked for more resources and repeatedly Secret Service leadership turned that down?
That is not accurate, Senator. Assets
You
are
didn't say no.
requested. There's a process that is made. And
How many requests did the Trump team or the Trump detail ask for?
How many?
I can get you that number in a queue.
Nah,
you don't
come
know-
on,
you don't know
bro.
now.
So I can
You know,
speak to the
come
ones that were
on.
reported in the Washington Post, and we can go through them if you like.
But you don't know how many requests there were.
In general, how many requests since
No, the
2021 that the
numbers,
former
schmuck.
Trump detail has made a request for assets?
You've had 2 weeks. You had a spokesperson put something out that is false on its face. By the way,
Right.
did you approve this statement when it went out?
I don't know if I did or didn't, Senator.
Has this spokesperson, is he still employed? Does he
He
still
is
have a
still
job?
employed, Senator.
So he lied on behalf of the Secret Service. He still has a job. Did your predecessor, the former director, does she approve this statement?
Senator, our comms team, they send out statements. They do deconflict them and they put them out.
Did
Deconflict
she
them.
approve this statement?
Deconflict them.
I don't know if she did or did not.
And you don't know if you did either.
Pants on
T-
fire.
Tell me what deconflicting means. That's some bullshit term.
There's nobody in charge is why he has no answers. Go ahead.
Oh, God.
I don't recall approving it, Senator.
Wasn't me.
Will you commit to provide this committee in writing every written request for additional resources from the Trump campaign or the
Extra
Trump
homework.
detail
Extra
and every
homework.
response from Secret Service?
Senator, I will commit to providing responses and getting you the information that you are seeking.
That's kind of generic.
May I ask you something? And who makes the decision to deny those requests? Did you make that decision?
The committee.
Which requests? Are you talking about the ones that were in the
Any of
Washington
them.
Post?
Yes.
The process, sir, is that a detail will make a request for either staffing, technical assets, that is handled between the field office and the detail. It goes up to a logistics office between our
Okay,
office
so
of
there's a
investigation.
bureaucracy. Is there a decision maker?
It's not a bureaucracy,
Give
Senator.
me
It's
the
a
person that's a
process.
decision maker. Is there one?
Senator, it's a conversation. It's not just an
It's a
absolute yay or
conversation.
nay.
So let me tell you what I
Hold on,
believe.
just stop
I
this for 1
believe
second.
that the
Just
Secret
1
Service
second.
leadership.
The conversation thing is what he heard from Cheadle over and over and over again. This is a woman's socialist style of running a bureaucracy. Everything is a conversation. This is not his terminology. This was drilled into his fat football head by Cheadle for a couple of years. And he has no answers for Ted Cruz as to who is in charge of anything at all, because everything is a conversation. Go on.
Yep. And that's why Cheadle didn't want to resign.
That's right.
Made a political decision to deny these requests. And I think the Biden administration has been suffused with partisan politics.
Woo!
Did the same person who denied the request for additional security
This
to
is great.
President Trump also repeatedly deny the request for security to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose father was murdered by an assassin and whose uncle was murdered by an assassin? Did the same person make that decision?
Senator, what I will tell you is that Secret Service agents are not political.
Okay, you're not
And nor
answering
do
my
they
question.
allow-
You know what?
I'll get
Leadership
to your
appointed by
answer,
the
Senator,
president.
if you allow
Leadership
me
appointed
to.
by the president is political. I have a simple question: yes or no? Did the same person deny the Trump request that also denied the RFK request? That's a yes or no question.
Senator, that is not a yes or no question. One, there is a process for a candidate nominee to receive protection.
Is there? Does the buck stop anywhere? Does the buck stop anywhere?
bipartisan process that he'll
It's a
participate
bicameral, bipartisan process. What
for a
camera?
candidate.
You
for
are
a
not a
candidate
Congress. You don't
protectee.
have a camera.
Mr. Kennedy submitted
don't
a
have a
request
camera.
that was referred over to the CPAC.
Okay, you're refusing
CPAC,
to answer
that's
the question. Let
Congressional.
me ask, because the
CPAC.
failures on that day were catastrophic. By the way, is it true that on the day of the Butler event that Secret Service transferred agent from President Trump to the First Lady?
No, sir, that's not true.
That's been widely reported.
It's not true. There was one airport agent that actually went on the manpower request for the Trump detail. They handled the arrival at the airport.
What was the
and
relative size of the Trump detail compared to the detail that is assigned to the president or the first lady?
Now his answer will be very forthcoming here, right?
Yeah.
He'll be
Well,
very
it's a simple question. It's a very simple question. I mean,
right. What
you
is the
could say
size
Joe
comparison?
Biden has 50, Trump had 25, Jill Biden had 35. I don't know, whatever the numbers are. Let's see what happens.
Or approximately 20% more or less.
Whatever, right. There's a lot of ways to skin that mathematical cat. Let's
All
see
right,
what
so
he
listen.
does.
Senator, the former president travels with a full shift, just like the president.
What's so the exact same size? Is that your testimony that President Trump had the same size detail that President Biden has?
On the day of in Butler, the agents surrounding him, it is the same number of agents surrounding the president today. There is a difference between a sitting president who also not only
Hold on, you're using president in a way that is not clear. Is it your testimony that in Butler, Pennsylvania, Donald Trump had the same number of agents protecting him that Joe Biden has at a comparable event?
I'm telling you the shift, the close protection shift surrounding.
That's yes
what you
or no?
asked me, Senator, and I'm trying to answer it.
You are not answering it. Is it the same number of agents or not?
Senator, there is a difference between the sitting president of the United States.
Then what's the difference,
bro?
The difference?
2x, 3x, 5x,
National
10x?
Command Authority to launch a nuclear strike.
I'm not asking
assets
how many more
travel
agents
with the president that
Sir,
the former president will
you are
not get.
refusing to
But
answer
the number of Secret Service agents
stop interrupting me.
protecting him.
Stop interrupting me.
Go ahead,
You are
Senator.
refusing to answer clear and direct questions.
Yes.
I am asking the relative difference in the number of agents between those assigned to Donald Trump and those assigned to Joe Biden. I'm not asking why you assign more to Joe Biden. I'm asking, is the difference, is it 2x? Is it 3x? Is it 5x? Is it 10x?
Senator, I will get you that number so you can see it with your own eyes.
Sure. It's a secret number. It's a secret society with a secret number. Boy, I'll tell you something. This guy's got bullshit that won't quit. He deserves to be the director. He's a slippery freaking eel, this lying weasel.
When he said he had a full shift, do you like that? He had a full shift, like Biden. So it's like, well, hold on here. What's a shift?
Yeah, how big is a shift,
shifty?
Adam
Schiff.
Answer. Yeah, he got very shifty, and Adam Schiff probably in the House laughing in the Congress. Wow, what a performance by this weasel. This is the arch nemesis of Dan Bongino, who I recommend on Rumble if anybody wants to see an inside take by a former Secret Service agent. We're going to have on a former New York City NYPD intelligence operative officer on Friday to explain his interaction with Secret Service and how they did it in New York. So there'll be some comparative analysis on Friday. But getting back to this, now I think Mike Lee comes on, Eric, or...
Mike Lee, but you brought up Bongino, so I have a clip that I pulled of him.
Oh, go ahead. Let's go. Go ahead.
He broke earlier.
Okay.
Counter sniper teams that are supposed to go out to a site that a protectee is visiting.
Right.
A week, maybe 2 weeks out, depending on the complexity of the site, and do an advance, security advance. None of this is hard. None of this is classified information. They go there and say, we got a high point over there, high point over there. I mean, at a minimum, you should be there 4 or 5 days in advance to go look around, do your meetings with the local police. I got from a source this morning that the Secret Service counter sniper teams for the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt and murder of Corey Comparator, that they were only approved the day before.
Oh. That's a rough one. Man, this thing stinks from top to bottom. We believe it is the stripping of Secret Service protection to allow for the assassination of Donald Trump. This is not the first time this has happened. We talked about it with Vince last week, and we've dedicated tons of time on this channel over the years about the Secret Service protection. And just to get back to so that people don't think it's clickbait in terms of Matthew Crooks and Oswald. If you want to, but we've been doing this because this just happened. But I wanted to, so people don't rip our heads off, get into a little bit of what we put up in the thumbnail, Eric. So we could talk a little bit about that, because it's not that we believe Oswald was a shooter. We believe Matthew Crooks was the shooter. We believe at least Eric and I are on the same page with this. fired 8 shells. 8 shells were recovered. The 9th went through his skull, fired by a counter sniper with an incredible shot from.
Which did sound completely different, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
8 sounded similar.
Yes.
9th one sounded very different, like it was from a distance.
Yes. Again, this is not rocket science. I don't need a weatherman to tell me this stuff. I don't need a microbiologist to tell me, and I don't need conspiratorial people to tell me the conspiracy is bigger than it is. You know, I've done research in all of these conspiracies. I believe there was a conspiracy to kill Martin Luther King, and I think James Earl Ray was the shooter, and there was a huge conspiracy to hire him and get him out of the country with multiple passports and multiple identities. That's a conspiracy, folks. It may not be your conspiracy, but it's my conspiracy. The stuff that I've read, and Lincoln, which we did an episode on the conspiracy of Lincoln. Very, very complex conspiracy involving a lot of people. The JFK conspiracy, we've gone down these rabbit holes in reality, in real time, on numerous episodes. We've dealt with a bunch of different, the Sirhan situation. We've explored how Thane Eugene Caesar was the actual shooter, and there was a conspiracy. The people who did not pursue Thane Eugene Caesar, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who tried to get an interview with him, but was blocked by his handler, Dan Moldea, the mob-related author, who wanted to charge him $25,000 to meet with Thane Eugene Caesar in the Philippines. So I am not anti or pro conspiracy. I'm a guy who's an investigative reporter who's uncovered and dealt with many, many conspiracies. The conspiracy here is not a guy on a water tower. It's not a guy in a second window. It's about stripping Secret Service protection intentionally. It's about putting a guy out there, issuing 5 million dog whistles, stripping away his protection, and then saying, oh my, Hitler has been killed. You know, I mean, this is where we are. I know that doesn't sound good to a lot of people who are looking for a drone flying over with a weapon attached to it. It's not what reality is in this particular case. And trying to relate it to other cases, look, the guy's nickname in school was school shooter. It's got to tell you something about the kid right off the bat. Now, I believe there are similarities between Lee Harvey Oswald and Matthew Crooks, and there's similarities in the cases. There's also differences. And that's why I wanted to do this episode with Eric, so we can explore both, Eric, right? I mean, the similarities and the differences. So let's
the one by you on the side that my observation was just this, that what I noticed is when Oswald was arrested, they knew everything about him.
Yes.
But when Crooks was arrested,
the opposite.
They were scrambling to figure everything out about him. And I thought that was significant.
Right. Yes, I agree. It separates the frame job from the real job. Now, there are overlaps here. And so you find the Dallas police with 3 shells up in the Texas School Book Depository on the 6th floor, 3 shells. When these guys first come up on the roof, they find 3 shells, and then 5 shells, and then 8 shells. There's oddly enough, there's a 12-minute gap in the body cam footage of that officer, Eric, the one who comes on. You can't deny that. You can't deny that. There is a 10 to 12-minute turnoff of his camera, and then 8 shell casings appear on the rooftop, and he could have found them later, or we don't really know. But the turning off of the body camera itself is highly suspicious when all of the footage is coming out of one camera that we're basing this on. Now, that being said, the Carcano that is found on the 6th floor, the Mauser that's found on the 6th floor, the .302 British Enfield that's found on the roof, here we just have one gun laying next to him, which is clearly the serial number that's been traced back, I believe, to his father purchasing this weapon. We now have some connection between him directly and the weapon right next to him. He's in wide open spaces. The similarity between the two is both cases, witnesses claim that they saw Oswald up in the window. And here we have witnesses claiming, rightfully so, to see Crooks crawling on a building. So you've got 2 assassins. And again, just to set the record straight, we do not believe that Oswald was in that window shooting. I'm just analyzing the government cases here. I don't believe Oswald was a shooter. I don't believe he was part of the conspiracy. I believe he was in the lunchroom on the second floor having a Coke, as depicted by numerous people, and was not in that window shooting, and that Bonnie Ray Williams was eating his lunch in that window. That being said, I'm just going by the legendary Wikipedia cases that have been put forth to the American people. So you've got the shell cases, you got this 12-minute gap, you've got the young age of 20 and 24, Eric. You have no military background versus military background, which is significant. How does this kid learn to shoot? You know, a number of people have said that's a pretty tough shot. And if Trump doesn't turn his head, that's a successful assassination, Eric, right?
True, but you know, again, I went to basic training. There was a bunch of kids there. We all learned technically there. I already knew how to shoot from growing up.
Yeah.
His father and they had a membership at a gun club.
Okay.
That gun club had a 200-yard range. So he practiced with his father on a range that was within, you know, that was actually longer than the shot he took. So he had experience. And
okay, so Oswald had experience on a range, the same range you did, 200, and got sharpshooter in the middle. It was given a sharpshooter medal, which is in the middle range. Yeah, I don't know if Oswald was shooting off and on periodically in his life, but we do know he had range training. Let's just put it at that. Sure. Okay. Both Matthew Crooks and Lee Harvey Oswald were killed surrounded by law enforcement. Interesting. We have Jack Ruby killing him surrounded by the top and best law enforcement, including the Texas Rangers, Dallas police. And then we have Crooks killed, obviously surrounded by police. Again, I'm not saying one deserves it, one doesn't deserve it. I'm just talking about the similarities in the cases. Now, this is a weird one, and I'm waiting for the toxicology report to come out because I've indicated before, I believe this kid loved methamphetamine. I believe it's going to be shown that he was on Ritalin or Adderall at a young age. That went through his high school years on Ritalin and Adderall, and he eventually switched to meth. I also know that Lee Harvey Oswald loved amphetamines. They were found in his medicine cabinet. You could see it in the photos laid out, which I examined closely over the years by the Dallas police. The drug of choice back then was amphetamines. I mean, both of these people have similar types of mindsets. Both were bullied as kids. Both were diminutive. Both,
super intelligent.
Both were introverted. Little brainiacs. This is a weird one. I don't know if this means anything, but Robert Edward Lee Oswald Sr., I don't know if I ever told you this personally, was the third cousin to President Teddy Roosevelt. Did I ever tell you that?
No.
And a distant cousin to Robert E. Lee, which is where the Lee comes from.
Interesting.
Just a little tidbit, because you're talking about presidential assassins. Here is a third cousin of Teddy Roosevelt.
I knew that Robert E. Lee is related to multiple presidents, including George Washington.
He's a third cousin, though, to Teddy Roosevelt. He's more distant to Robert E. Lee, but a third to Teddy Roosevelt, which I think is kind of interesting. You know what? I think when the FBI ends up getting both guns, in this case, it gets the Carcano, and it gets this weapon. We both don't know at this time what the status of those weapons are. Because Ray said it had a collapsible stock. It's an AR-15 bought by some made by Panther or whatever they're now saying. Here's another one. There was a tree blocking both assassinations. There was a tree in front of the 6th floor of the Texas Oak, blocking any potential shooting outside that 6th floor window in the school depository. And then there's the tree blocking the counter sniper team, Eric, from him getting his head blown off earlier on. And I think he took that into account. Eric, right?
I'm sure he did. I mean, it's like the guy literally had time to stake it out wander around, and even in the event. But I'm sure beforehand, you don't just plan this out that morning.
Right.
I'm sure he went over there, scoped it out, probably climbed up on the roof a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have that route planned. Who knows? He could have even taken the gun and stashed it ahead of time. We don't know at what point he got it, but it would make sense to get it there many hours before, put it someplace.
Which is another oddity, because the Walker shooting, Oswald was accused of burying the gun by Walker's house, thereby denying anyone seeing him on a bus or trafficking with the gun to Walker's house in the alleged Walker shooting. So there's the burying of the gun in the Oswald case too, Eric.
Yeah.
Okay. The CIA has denied relationships with both Oswald and Crooks, vehemently in terms with Crooks this week, and vehemently with Oswald. So that's of interest. How about this one? Oswald allegedly killed a police officer. Crooks killed a fire department official. Tippett and Competore, who was a fire chief. That's odd. That's pretty odd. And then you get into the Secret Service. Okay, so you got this Cheadle chick, right? Cheadle is linked to a vice president named Dick Cheney. We now know that because we explored that in a previous episode. Rowley was linked to a vice president named Lyndon Baines Johnson, Eric. That's right. That's right. You got it. So you've got
that's right. Sorry,
right. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Sorry, I was
no. But also,
I had Rowe in my head when you said Rowley. I thought
Rowley.
That was my
James Rowley, the Secret Service chief, was at the sewn to the hip of LBJ, like Cheadle was owned by Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney. So that's really what's that?
And then rolling
and then later Jill Biden, right? So that's interesting. Now here's the other thing: did the head of the FBI in this particular case? Did the head of the FBI know about this plan and do nothing, like J. Edgar Hoover knew about the Martin Luther King assassination plan and did nothing? There's a similarity there of what did the FBI know here, and the other part is, was the kid radicalized, not unlike what happened in the Whitmer kidnapping? Was he radicalized or brought in by the FBI to do this?
Well, can we jump on that for a second?
Yeah, go on.
I want to follow up because
any one of these, take any one.
Let's talk about
these are all suppositions on our part. We're putting this out there, Eric and I, to discuss it with the audience.
Okay, well, I want to talk about the FBI because this I just happened upon it today. The deputy director of the FBI was also testifying. Yeah. And
what's his name? Abate? Abate?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yes, Paul Abate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something just.
So this is very interesting because we were talking about the whole Gab account and what was actually said.
Yeah, I thought I'm glad
this guy testified.
Yeah, go on. This is great.
Something just very recently uncovered that I want to share is a social media account which is believed to be associated with the shooter in about the 2019-2020 timeframe. There were over 700 comments posted from this account. Some of these comments, if ultimately attributable to the shooter, appear to reflect anti-Semitic and anti-immigration themes, to espouse political violence, and are described as extreme in nature. While the investigative team is still working to verify this account to determine if it did in fact belong to the shooter, we believe it important to share and note it today, particularly given the general absence of other information to date from social media and other sources of information that reflect on the shooter's potential motive and mindset. These are the facts, in part, that the investigation has revealed to date. While the shooter is dead, our work is very much ongoing and urgent. Something just very...
Okay, now, why I brought that up is because Torba, and we're not sure about him, but I got to give him credit. He brought some receipts out. He showed the letter from the FBI requesting very specifically the account, which he turned over. And funny enough, that account said the exact opposite of what this guy just
no.
testified. So
No, Hunley.
it's hard to believe in our, our great fidelity of the FBI when they may be lying right to our faces in front of Congress, sworn in.
Well, if you go later, he says he cannot verify repeatedly that this is Crooks's account. He says it 3 times. He's smearing him, bro.
Mm-hmm.
This is a smear job. When asked, he says, again, I can't verify. Look, dude, if you can't verify it, why are you publicizing this on C-SPAN? I mean, what a piece of shit move to not be able to verify this account, to smear Gab, to smear the kid, and to not verify it's his account. Boy, that is a political operation from the KGB, my friend. Wow.
And when I see that, then how can I not wonder how much involvement ahead of time or deliberate? Remember, these are the same people who have been investigating Trump. And as you brought up, Trump agreed to speak to them as a witness, which, as you're putting, is a perjury trap, quite possibly.
Perjury trap, according to me, because anything he says can be later construed as a lie to a federal agent. And they could twist that around and say whatever he said. So, I mean, I don't know what's the upside for Trump. What is that with the, Emerald Robinson feels the same way. What is the upside for Trump here? To go in there and give them a sword, as Richard Nixon said, and allow them to stick it in? I mean, why does it help Trump?
Normally, I would say if you were necessary, like, there's nobody else to testify, there's somebody out there, but the assailant is gone.
Right.
He's perished.
Right.
This victim, Trump, he's given a speech and he got shot. How much could he have really seen that is going to give them more information that is of use to the investigation versus all of the agents involved? It's like, why don't you grill the counter snipers a bit more? Why don't you grill the local cops a bit more? Why don't you grill Crooks's father a little bit more? Why did he call in 62 minutes ahead of time to say, oh my God, my son's missing? There's a lot of people you can grill. The guy who was given the speech and shot, did they grill the people in the hospital? Yeah. What are they going to say? Well, we were watching the guy and then we got shot.
How about the fact that Ray said they interviewed 450 people? Where's the witness list?
I would love to see that.
450 people.
And that's speedy.
That's pretty speedy. Why don't you give us the names, bro? What's so secret about who you interviewed?
And by the way, when you do it, 450 people, I can already see. Right. Because you think about how many agents, how many hours, how many days to get 450 people.
Right.
They probably called a bunch of them into the gymnasium.
Right.
Like, you get 100. Hey, any of you know Thomas Crooks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, come over here. The rest of you know him? No. Okay,
so how many friends could he have had from school?
He probably didn't have many friends, but he has classmates. And
he
knows some people.
Every classmate he ever had, or
I would.
Okay, well, how many do you think that is? That's what I'm saying. What's the number?
Well, it's probably a few hundred.
It's a small school, small town. I mean, do the math, Eric. I mean,
it though? I mean, it's a suburb of Pittsburgh or exurb of Pittsburgh. I don't know how big it is.
Well, I mean, do you think it's 300 ex-students?
Again, that one, I'll try to find that out because sometimes in those schools, they get the surrounding county students too, and you might have a class of 500 or 1,000, even though it seems like a small area.
Well, the point of the matter is that they have been exploring this thing for weeks now without any information coming out. The first thing that comes out is this pseudo account from Gab where they can't even verify it's his account, but they're telling you about the tone of his tweets. I find
it's the opposite of what was actually posted because Torba posted those tweets. And guess what? They were all pro-Biden and anti-Trump. Everything on Gab was very much in line with somebody who's a leftist who donated money to Act Blue. Of course, with Act Blue, you never know.
You never know.
He a lot of more money.
According to, he may have donated $1 million to Act Blue based on James O'Keefe's recent revelations, my friend. Wow. Okay, so we know that they were offered drones and turned it down. We know that there was supposed to be a team on that roof. We know that it was too hot. They went inside. We know that they were on the ground looking for him. We know that they were scrambling. This is the local cops. We also know that they had no way of communicating electronically to the actual Secret Service and the White House detail. We now know that. There's no way other than I know this guy's cell phone number. I'm calling him. Here's my question to you as a potential police officer. Why didn't you just take your gun and shoot it in the air?
I can answer that, actually. If knowing there's other snipers, if you shot it in the air, you might get your own ass shot off.
I'm asking you why a cop with some sort of chutzpah who senses the reality of the situation does not take his own gun for warning shots straight into the air. It would have stopped everything on a dime. In a policeman's uniform, straight up in the air.
Okay, well, if there's any standards and procedures, like we actually discussed it with Nate. One, when you shoot in the air, the bullets coming down the other side. They are trained.
We have that in LA every day, so that's not
okay. But that's not usually the cops doing it.
Well, we've had the cops.
I'm going to give him credit. We've had the cops maniac that went and hit a Big Bear and was smoked out. Okay, he might have. But
you're talking about Dornan, who we let burn. But,
yeah, Dornan. No, he may have done that, sure. But
when is it proper to shoot warning shots for a police officer?
It's not. They shoot to
kill. You're saying that it's not legal for a cop to shoot warning shots.
Technically, a warning shot means that you're not under enough threat. I know that sounds crazy, but everybody's like, just wound him. Cops shoot.
It just seems that nobody is willing. Right. It just forget about the warning shot for a second, which I believe might be. We could discuss later, but I believe that nobody, and if you read the text messages, which is where I'm going with this, the shift that's leaving texted the next shift through text messages saying he's sitting at the picnic table. We're leaving. There he is. Good luck. And this is what they're referring to. Beaver County, 661 students, but that doesn't mean they all know him.
No. But I was just saying.
I mean, not everybody in my school knew me. I mean, it's crazy.
You're kidding. You know everybody, Mark. You're
not then.
You're the Forrest Gump of your high school.
I was undercover. The situation is that they were texting each other saying, we're leaving, goodbye. He's sitting at the picnic table. I just find this to be bizarre. They're literally taking photos of him later. But the point I'm trying to make is not one human cop in a uniform bothered to go up and talk to him. Mm-hmm. I find this to be insanely Uvalde-ish, if you follow what I'm saying. Nobody wants to stick their neck out and say, hey, what the fuck are you doing here, bro? What is the deal here? These guys, nobody spoke to him, Eric. They're all pointing. They're all talking about him. 2 hours prior to the event, he gets in with the rangefinder. They stop him at the magnetometer. They go, what the hell is this? Rangefinder. Okay, we don't care about rangefinders. As the Secret Service director said, it's not a gun. Our main focus is guns or explosives. Okay.
Actually, I'm glad you said that. I want to hear more about the explosives in the van.
Yeah, me too.
That is the wild card.
Well, did you see the photo of the detonator? That 12.
Yeah, I couldn't quite tell it, but it was like a fireworks detonator or something, right?
Well, no, I mean, there's a photo of it. If you look at it, it's numbered 1 through 12 with an antenna, and the antenna allows for longer range. I looked this up, and the range with the antenna makes it like an Uber super duper garage door opener. With wide range that could detonate the explosives that were in the vehicle. Now he takes the vehicle and I think he took the bicycle out and rode the bike, left the vehicle with the explosives, which is fine. But they are quite reluctant to talk about the explosives
because that one's important, Mark.
Yeah.
If there's any, because we're pushing back on the whole, you don't have proof, second shooter, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Explosives in the van tends to feel more like assistance or conspiracy or recruiting. And no, I'm just saying that it's like, where did you get these explosives?
Okay. All right. Good question.
I think we need to know a lot about that.
I think there is, we're in the middle of right now a finger pointing thing, which is going to go away because they're going to eventually find out who did what, who said what. They're going to compare notes as to who was responsible for whatever between the two forces. That's not my biggest problem. The biggest problem is the stripping of the Secret Service, the allowing this kid. Was he MK Ultraized? Was he radicalized, Eric? Did he have, not compatriots, but did he have, like Sirhan did, handlers, Jolly West types? Was he on medication? Was he on crystal meth? Was he sent to people to see him by his parents? There's all kinds of questions involving the kid and the stripping of the Secret Service. I'm not accusing the Secret Service of being involved with this kid. What this kid did was pull back the curtain on one of the most ineffective agencies in the government that's been hiding this ineffectiveness for decades, bro. This thing has now been revealed. The Band-Aid has been pulled off. This organization that has been run by two different women for the past 10 years, before Cheadle, there was another woman, and has been turned into some sort of a social club of decision-making on how to run the agency.
Well, there were signs, though. There were signs because Joe Rogan, as part of his stand-up act, talked about how that person got into Obama's White House. Like,
oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
So, so you had that.
He went right through the front door, didn't he?
Right. I don't remember exactly how, but it was like, there's no way he should have. Then you had the Secret Service agents attacking each other, and I think they were on Biden's detail.
Yes,
or
they were fighting each other. They were fighting each other.
Don't
forget the dog biting them repeatedly. Commander biting Secret Service agents, and nobody having the chutzpah, as somebody pointed out, to go to Biden and say, this is not acceptable. Nobody did that.
And also, didn't they get busted partying and doing drugs or something?
Yes, that was in Colombia. That was in Colombia. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm just saying, so all of these things kind of add up to what's going on here with some chronic incompetence and serial.
Let's go back to the Warren Commission again, and with Lee Harvey Oswald. Let's go back because Rowley testifies before the Warren Commission, and the Warren Commission, Earl Warren himself grills James Howley, the head of the Secret Service, and said, I'm assuming these men have been fired. The same as today. The same as today. What?
Yeah, but his feelings. He was worried about the feelings.
And he said that these men have, because Warren reads the actual Secret Service manual about being drunk on the job and drinking within a 48-hour period, if I remember correctly. And he said clearly these men violated it. They'd been in the cellar of the club in Fort Worth. They'd lost their badges, lost their guns, whatever happened to them. They'd come to the job hungover or directly from a nightclub. Okay. He assumed that they were fired. And he was shocked to learn from Rowley that the men had suffered enough, that they had lost their champion, that they're feeling bad, and the morale is very low. And that's enough pain to inflict upon any agent. And Earl Warren couldn't believe what he was hearing.
No, Mark, Roe hasn't slept for 17 days.
He said morale was very low, and the men are really suffering over this.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the guy.
As a matter of fact, that leads into another clip I pulled you didn't ask for, but this is tied right in with it. It's very important.
Okay.
Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to each of you for your patience and for being here today. Director Rowe, I want to come to you first because a counter sniper has decided to speak out about the culture at your agency, and I think it is very telling. And he sent an email, and I'm going to quote from that. If this agency needs to change, and if not now, when? The next assassination in 30 days? But here's what I want to talk with you about, because in this email, he says, and I'm quoting again, the motto of the USSS is CYA. And every supervisor is doing it now. That's the end of his quote. So you're the guy in charge. And you're one of those supervisors. You've been a career guy there at the Secret Service. The public has lost trust in the ability to execute the mission to protect. And I want to know how you feel about the fact that employees in your agency are worried about covering their behind and not worried about protecting a former president.
Thank you, Senator. So I'm hurt by that email, but not in the way you think I'm saying it. I'm hurt because my people are hurting right now.
There we go.
We need them.
Then why did somebody delete the email?
Oh, good one.
I'll get back to you on that.
The
Senator.
agency deleted the email.
But may I address your question? And I will get back to you as to whether the email was deleted or not. My agency is hurting. Emotions are raw.
Yeah.
I actually want to hear more from that UD officer, that technician.
I'm sure you
Yeah, so we
in
can show
his
him the door.
email,
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
he referenced that he had spent time serving our nation as a United States Marine,
Yeah.
that he
I'm
is a
narrowing
20-year
it down.
professional of the Secret
Maybe it was
Service.
J.D. Vance
I am committed to
finding
being
out who this is.
a change agent,
Change agent.
meaning I am
Agent of
committed
change.
to
I'm the
reviewing some
Obama
of
the
these
Secret
things.
Service.
I looked at the points in his email very quickly. I saw it as I was on my way over here this morning.
Yeah, I couldn't even read the whole thing.
I want to
It was
have
so long.
further conconversations, not only with him,
Let
but
me-
also the counter
If I
sniper
may,
unit
if I may
supervisors.
step
If I
back
may
in, sir.
interrupt
Yes,
you,
All right. So you want to talk with him. What about other whistleblowers? What about this culture? Are you going to allow these whistleblowers to speak out? Because it is troublesome if somebody went into the server and deleted that email.
That's right.
I would hope
Just
you
like
will
Hillary
get
Clinton.
to the bottom of that
All the
and
time.
be able to provide some answers. Because this is, as you have heard from both sides, this is a situation that cannot be allowed to happen again,
Yes, ma'am.
ever.
Ever.
Mr. Abate, and
Okay.
All right, I wanted
Go
to
ahead.
share that because
Go ahead,
it
that was
fits
good.
right in with Rowley,
Yeah.
and it's significant because of that email. And that email is all over Twitter. I have this Susan Crabtree again doing really good work at Real Clear
Crabtree. Go
Politics.
get him, Crabtree.
And this is the full email there. I don't know if we want to go through it. We get the point.
You get the point. I think that this
And
guy's a
delete it from the
whistleblower.
server.
How do you delete it from the server? How
Easy,
how
you have
bold
IT.
is that, Hunley?
I-
How
now-
bold is that?
By the way, the fact that happened, Congress and Senate need to now call the IT team and the Secret Service in front of Congress. Okay,
Oh,
who's in
I'll take
charge
it
of
a
the
step
server?
further. I'll
Who's
take
in
it-
charge
right.
of the backups?
No, I'll take it a step further. I will call for a subpoena to seize the server because they'll give it
Yes.
out to CrowdStrike, to a non-governmental agency, and they'll do the same thing they did with the Bernie Sanders DNC server. They'll give it to Dmitry Aperovich, the Soviet exile. Now, I am calling for, this is my answer to this stuff, and I could be crazy. I am calling for a 90-day decertification of the Secret Service and the use of the Defense Department members to be handpicked to cover the candidate when he's out in the field for 90 days. I'm also calling for the National Guard to protect the candidates in each state for 90 days between now and the election. I'm calling for a decertification, stand down of the Secret Service until all of this is investigated, and to have members, and I don't know if it's the Green Berets, I don't know who it is within the Defense Department, to guard the presidential candidates, and also 4 National Guard units to be utilized as a show of force in outdoor and indoor rallies for the next 90 days, state by state. That's what I'm calling for.
Okay, ain't gonna happen, but okay.
No,
I do,
putting
but
it
I
out
do.
there.
I do like your idea. I would definitely subpoena the server.
Yeah.
Subpoena the backup tapes.
Yep.
And I still want to subpoena the people. I want to interview every
absolutely.
single person.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
What's your job? How did that happen? Who told you?
Right.
And then see who's sweating.
Right. I mean, the same thing with the Butler people, too. I want to get to the bottom of who saw what, when, why did you respond? Why did you not respond? Were you told to stand down? I mean, you have to drill down into this thing early on to get everybody on record. That's what Rush to Judgment was about. Rush to Judgment was really about Mark Lane rushing to film everyone in Dallas with a camera to get them on film. And the Rush to Judgment, the book that came out, led, of course, to the phrase conspiracy theorist by the CIA when they were running Operation Mockingbird in 1964. and the rush to judgment was on the New York Times bestseller list. They issued a document, which we have, that called for their media assets in Operation Mockingbird to smear Mark Lane as a writer, saying that he was a conspiracy theorist. This is the first known time it was ever used by the CIA against an American citizen. In Mark Lane's case with the book Rush to Judgment, oddly enough, mentioned by the Secret Service head twice. I don't know why he kept mentioning Rush to Judgment, but to Mark Lane's credit, what he did was he grabbed a cameraman, he grabbed a sound man, he went to Dallas, and he interviewed as many people as he could on film for the permanent record that we have today. And that's why we need this testimony and this filming of them in the bright lights of a congressional hearing, Eric, for the future testimony that this goes into the permanent record before these douchebags make up their own storyline, which they're scampering to do right now.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, you can definitely see it.
Yeah, you could definitely see they're stuttering, they're stammering. These are a bunch of Joe Bidens here trying to not give away. What they're trying to do is not give away the linear storyline before it's been constructed by the deep state. That's the point I'm trying to make. They want to construct that line. And if they put out information under oath, that line gets interrupted, and they're trying to stammer and stall and deceive and misdirect the senators away from the direct questions that they're answering. They're being asked because they want to construct the storyline, and it's under construction. There's probably a big sign on their doors that says storyline under construction at this time. No admission.
Wow. All right. Let's see. What do we have next? Do we want to?
What do you have?
Well, we got a bunch of super chats. We got Mike Lee. We've got.
Well, why don't you do a couple of super chats and then we'll go to Mike Lee, to be fair.
That sounds good. That sounds good. And we got to talk about something in California.
Oh, we got the thing. Oh man, we got so much. All right, let's roll. Let's go. Chop, chop.
Pamela Clifton. Happy Tuesday, guys. Pamela,
happy Tuesday,
Pamela. And we're talking about Bobby too, not getting his support. It was nice.
Oh, right. Yeah, Bobby. You talk about Bobby, the same thing. I mean, why all of a sudden does he get secret? You know what's so weird? They never mentioned Mayorkas. You know, they kept saying, where does the buck stop? And they should have said Mayorkas. I mean, really, because that's the ultimate answer to these questions. He's in charge of Department of Homeland Security.
Exactly. And that's where I think Cruz is wrong, because he said you're a presidential appointee. It's like, no. Mayorkas is a presidential appointee.
Right.
Now, the president could fire you, sure, but no.
You know, one thing that, interestingly enough, that I didn't realize is the Secret Service is not an intel organization. It is a recipient of intel from the intel organizations. I knew that, but I never heard it put that way, that they don't do intelligence. They do have that protective intelligence squad that we talked about with Vince. But that's really when they come to a city doing on the ground advance. They are beholden to the letter agencies for intel information.
For some things, like maybe on the protection, but I can tell you, I interviewed. I mean, cybersecurity, their intelligence is top notch. Brett Johnson, who I interviewed, was #1 on their most wanted list and went to prison. Okay, he was a hacker. So
he did say they were embedded. They had an embed agent. This is Secret Service in these other agencies as a liaison. I'm just saying what he said in the hearing. So I don't know if he's telling the truth or not. I was just surprised to hear the whole thing today.
Right. Well, I just want to point, because also counterfeiting financial crimes are top notch. They've got a lot of intelligence, and they just probably don't have protection intelligence. So there's different.
I think that's what he was talking about. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
All right. Bob Tranquilli gifted 5 AUS memberships. Thank you, Bob.
Tranquility Base. This is Tranquility Base.
Innis Fad. John Cullen has done analysis of how many shooters. He advises that when this Secret Service sniper flinched, he wasn't flinching, he was being shot at.
It's all over, my friend. Let me address this. It's all over. It's all over. What's done is done. We've now figured it out. We're moving on. Sorry. Good luck, John Cullen. I hope it works out. I hope you clickbait and get 5 million subscribers. We're not going to go over that. over here because we are comfortable with what Hunley and I have figured out.
Cool. 556 Pew Pew gifted 10 AUS memberships.
This guy never sleeps. Let me tell you something. This guy's up all night coming up with memberships, waiting for the moment to drop these memberships on people.
He's sneaking in under the Dickerson.
Dickerson apparently went out to take his dog for a walk, not knowing that at this point in the show, this would be Pew Pew's moment to shine.
That's right. That's
So
right.
Dickerson may have to get back in here quickly. I don't know where.
I don't know. I don't know where Dickerson is, but you never know. But you know what? Simon James is stepping up.
Who's Simon James?
Simon James is brand new, stepping up, gifted 10 AUS memberships. And hold on.
James,
he's not playing. He did it again later. Another
same guy?
10
The same
memberships.
guy?
Yeah, Simon James.
I think
So-
you got to make those logos for people. I see that certain.
No,
people have
they
them.
do have emoji. There are new emojis in there. I don't remember all of them, but
I
yeah,
see
definitely
Laura
put 'em-
Barris has one. I don't even have one.
Laura Barris has her own emoji.
I think so. Yeah, I think she's got her own emoji. She's
Okay.
got something. I don't know what it's her own emoji. She's got some sort of logo or some shit that who knows.
All right, Thurston Howell III. I am not a criminal. Millhouse Mark.
Well, look, by today's standards, I am not a crook by today's standards, Eric. I must couch that in today's standards. Maybe I was a crook then, but by today's standards, no way. No way. And I knew Joe Biden. I knew his father, Mel Torme Biden, one of the worst Bidens in the crime family of the Bidens going back to 1942.
All right. Well, we also have Stephen McMahon saying, Mark, what does Ruth Payne have to say about her involvement in Butler?
Well, Stephen McMahon, who is the son of Ed McMahon from The Tonight Show. And I love Stephen McMahon. And I always loved your father, Ed McMahon, that fat, drunken bastard. He sat there for years with Johnny. He knew everything, and he never talked, which is what I do. I never talk.
Fair enough. Pasha came in. I don't yet get why the DS would leave so much up to chance. Only one shooter on this important op. Are they that incompetent or stupid? No, it's actually a benign neglect.
Yes, I know.
You just
people
put out the
can't-
bat signal
Right.
saying, hey, Hitler's coming to town. Any wackos, Hitler's coming to town. And in every town,
Right.
and you never know who's going to show up because keep in mind,
It doesn't matter. It's easier for you. You have no fingerprints on it.
and
That's why I'm saying it's
You
a
don't even
woman's
need them
coup.
to
It's a
succeed.
woman just. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
you know, I was going to say, you don't even need them to succeed. The Secret Service themselves have already put out, we can't protect you, so no more rallies.
Yeah.
So just like, well, you keep Trump in court, trying him, he can't do
Shoot him.
rallies in court.
Shoot him.
And now they're saying, oh, well, we can't protect you. So it stymies him. So it still
Well,
has an effect.
let's say for argument's sake, he wasn't killed, but the wound was more significant, Eric. Let's just think about that, where he had to be hospitalized for 3 months, but he lives. He lives. It's not life ending, but it is. He's 70 something years old, and it went through his neck, and it missed his ear, but he's alive. Wouldn't that be just as good?
Oh, yes. I mean,
Okay.
it's all anything that would, shut him down. And it's not like they liked him. My favorite analogy is it's like somebody works at a grocery store and they hate customers and they don't bother mopping up. They just let the spill there, see what happens.
Oh boy. Yeah, anything could happen then. Slippery. Whoops.
Nate the lawyer came in and said,
Look at Nate.
damn, Mark said his entire government name.
What is that? Did I?
I think you said Thomas Matthew Crooks.
Oh, did I really?
I think you did.
Okay. I don't know about that, but thanks, Nate. Thanks for coming on board. The Thomas Matthew Crooks, Lee Harvey Oswald. You got to have 3 names to get into this business because a 2-name shooter is just not going to be taken seriously.
James
You got to
Earl
go. You got to go James Earl
Unless
Jones.
it's Sirhan.
How about James Earl Jones? Was he a shooter or was it James Earl Ray?
I don't know, but you know what? The one guy who throws it off is you can repeat the same name.
Right.
So Sirhan.
It's so funny
okay.
when you see the mayor of Los Angeles at the press conference, the original press conference with Sirhan, and he goes, "The man's name is Sirhan 2 times," and then people go, "The same name? What's his last name?" Like the press is just yelling out, and he goes, Sirhan, the same name twice, and they go, "What are you talking about, Mayor? What's the story here?" Dude, it drove the mayor crazy.
So that throws the scheme off.
Well, it's Sirhan. No. Sirhan Bashar is Sirhan. It's three names. Yeah, he always went by three names. Sorry. Nice try, Hunley.
Ah, shit. Come on. It's a good observation.
No, you thought you had me there, didn't you? No, you got to have the three names to get in.
All right, well, Carl Burkhalter wants to know, how goes Mayorkas's Warren Commission?
Well, that's being formed. That's their blue ribbon panel that is going to be, I don't know, I named the Republican members of the House Committee, the House Assassinations Committee. I put their names up today on Twitter. There'll be Democrats on there. I think it's a 7-6 split with Republicans with 7 and the Dems with 6. There's also the one that he's referring to. That's the Mayorkas blue ribbon. Earl Warren brought out of the grave and propped up like Joe Biden as with a black robe and weekend at Biden's.
All right. Stephen McMahon said, FYI, Mark, Ed McMahon was a distant cousin.
I knew it, McMahon. Don't try to pull a fast one over on me, McMahon. I knew there was a connection. Had to be. It's a rare name, despite what people think.
All right. Tommy, people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Classic Milhouse, won 49 out of 50 states in 1972. A sad time in our history.
I don't know about that, but he was not a crook, and the speech was something that propelled him and convinced Eisenhower to keep him on the ticket, and was considered one of the most greatest television appearances by any politician of all time. This misnomer, and we're going to get into Watergate next Tuesday because we've got the meetup, which Eric and I are going to talk about in 2 minutes. But I just want to address this. The I am not a crook speech. Thousands and thousands and thousands of Americans wrote into the Republican National Committee because he said, if you feel I should be dropped from the ticket or want me to stay on the ticket is up to you at the end of the speech. I urge you to write in your opinion to the Republican National Committee. They got hundreds of thousands of letters, and it was the most celebratory thing in Nixon's career, the I am not a crook speech. It was genius. This whole storyline that he did not know how to use television is a crock of shit. He masterfully used it in the Checkers speech. He masterfully used it in the I am not a crook speech. He masterfully used it with Khrushchev in the kitchen cabinet, the meeting with Khrushchev with the cabinet in the kitchen.
The war on drugs.
And I don't know if he did TV on the war on drugs.
No, he did he did TV with the guy whose daughter, God, he's a really famous spokesperson.
Art Linkletter.
He did it with Art Linkletter to start up the war of drugs with Art Linkletter's daughter.
Right. Well, that was in the 71 or 2-ish, right? Or
yeah,
he was already president.
71.
I'm talking about the 50s. I'm talking about before the supposed debacle of the Kennedy-Nixon 1960 debate. I'm talking about Checkers is before this. The I am not a crook is before this. And that leads up to him coming out of the hospital sick as a dog to debate Kennedy on TV in the first debate. And he was deathly ill. And, people who heard the debate on radio thought that Nixon won it anyway. And he then won, according to all pundits, the next 2 debates. Now, keep in mind, these debates, unlike today, were not in June 26th of the election year. They were in September, October, where most debates usually are. The Biden one was a rigged job. So we now have early debating and early voting.
All right. Let's see. I'm going to go one more super chat and then we'll jump into the story.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. They keep rolling in, and I appreciate it. Ginny's getting inky with it. No one's in charge reminds me of Antifa. Hard to hold people accountable when you don't know who's responsible.
Intentional.
And if you extrapolate their policies, they do the same thing. They want freedom from responsibility.
Well, no, but it's also designed to not have a leader. And you can, if you study the Weathermen and if you study the countercultural leftist forces in the 70s, they intentionally said that we do not want to have a leader, be leaderless. The SDS talked about this. Abby Hoffman talked about it.
Terrorists
talk about it. It's a common technique of socialists and Marxists to not have a leader so they can't finger the one person to go to. This is now infiltrated into our style of government.
Fair enough. Totally agree. Okay, so let's jump to Mike Lee.
Oh, Mike Lee. Is this the guy from
Utah, I believe.
Utah? He's
Why
the
would-
other senator. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
The good one from Utah.
Apparently.
Anybody's better than Romney.
Was President Trump allowed to take the stage at 6:02 p.m., exactly 17 minutes after multiple suspicious person reports were provided, complete with photos and information suggesting that the assailant had a rangefinder, something that ordinary people don't use in this kind of circumstance?
Senator, again, it was suspicion, not weapon, or there was never communication of that there was an individual with a gun or threat or other bad intentions.
How many suspicious person reports did you receive that day?
I'll get back to you on the exact number, but there were other individuals that came to the attention of law enforcement that day.
Would President Biden ever be allowed on stage under similar circumstances with an unresolved set of multiple suspicious person reports provided, including indicating that there was a rangefinder involved?
Senator, I can tell you that a suspicious person on the outer perimeter with local law enforcement attempting to locate would happen, but I would need more information as far as whether or not we would allow the president to go on or off. Again, for us, it comes down to weapon, a potential threat. Is the individual carrying an IED? Is there a weapon? Is there some other factor that now ramps up our attention to let's hold off on this?
If there were 8 shell casings found next to the assailant's body, but he was neutralized after the first shot, where did those other shots come from?
I love that.
Where did the other shots go?
I know.
As far as the assailant's
Yes,
shooting?
yes. So did the assailant get out 8 shots, or were those shell casings left from the day before? Where did they come from?
The shooter, Senator, we believe fired 8 rounds. We had the shooting reconstruction team go out there for a period of days and collect all that. So we have bullet holes, bullet fragmentation, all taken back, and we're still putting together the trajectory and ballistic analysis, although we do have fragments of the bullets, and bullets have been collected in the distance from the shooter's weapon.
Gotcha.
He didn't really
My
answer the
understanding,
question.
there was a sniper team assigned to a window with complete overlook, complete view of the roof, the same rooftop, sloped rooftop where the shots were fired. It's also my understanding, according to some whistleblower accounts, that post was abandoned. What can you tell me about that? Why was it abandoned?
So I saw that from the colonel's testimony, sir, and it's something that I've asked and our mission assurance is getting to the bottom of. And there were two-man counter sniper teams from the locals that were in that AGR building.
And so at some point they just left?
That I can't, I don't have an answer for you on that, Senator, but it seems to me that if even one of them left, there should have been remaining some additional eyes left in that building.
Yeah, that seems like something that maybe should be one of the very first questions you address. I'm actually surprised that you don't know that already, and I'd ask that you submit to us in writing what you learn as soon as you learn it. Will you commit to that?
Yes, sir.
What can you tell me about, well, let me just state this way. Multiple requests were made by Trump's protective detail and by Trump's campaign team to the Secret Service for additional resources. I'm told that those were denied. And as I recall, the Secret Service spokesperson initially denied that such requests were made and denied. Why not tell the truth from the outset? What were they trying to do there?
So, Senator, I don't think there was any intention to mislead.
No,
Seems like a pretty
not at
material fact,
all.
I
Come on.
We saw that report. Go ahead, Senator.
Will you commit to me that you will submit to us in writing?
Yes, I will take an oath.
What requests
I'll take
were
a
made,
secret
by
oath,
whom,
yes.
and to whom,
On
and when they
pink
were
paper.
denied?
I will,
And-
sir.
In
Okay.
12-inch font.
Look, at the end of the day, we're looking at a situation in which, at a minimum, people knew that this guy had a gun at least 2 minutes before the shooting happened. I want to know what you can tell me about what happened during that final 2-minute period where a whole bunch of people in the crowd saw and were shouting, "He's got a gun." During that 2-minute period, perhaps at the beginning of it, the local police started to climb the rooftop, and there was at least 30 seconds after which local police were able to personally observe the shooter with a gun, had the gun pointed at him. What happened during that time period, and why on earth was President Trump not removed from the stage at that moment?
Biggest thing there.
Yeah.
So again, Senator, the reason why President Trump was not removed was, again, we did not have anything more than locals working an issue at the 3 o'clock. Wasn't determined as to whether or not it was the same individual or not, and there was no report of
The same individual as what?
the same suspicious individual.
Right,
It was-
but we've
did
left
you
the
have?
category of suspicious individual at that point. You've got a guy with a gun on a rooftop 136 yards away from the stage. You know that he's got a gun at that point. What happened during that time period that did not result in President Trump, his protective detail being notified of that, and him immediately being removed from the situation?
Can you call back
Senator,
later?
what I will say, and then I'll turn it over to Deputy Director Abate.
Because I'm getting out of here.
No information regarding a weapon on the roof was ever passed to our personnel.
How is that even possible?
Well, what was the Secret Service sniper looking at then?
You want to comment to that?
That's a Secret Service person.
Senator, again, I believe that information, and this is probably something my colleague can expound on, information that was in law enforcement, local law enforcement channels, but did not cross over and make it to Secret Service awareness.
Senator, just to clarify the timeline, so
Lee is trying to find out.
Yeah.
He's like, this is
It's
some
like,
bullshit.
Mo, Larry, the cheese. Mo, Larry, the cheese.
Yeah, that one's like going. Well, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. I can't.
It's like, did he
I know
Obi-Wan Kenobi me?
I'm a Mormon,
Nothing to
but
see
even
here.
I can't believe that. And I believe crazy crap, spinning plates and all kinds of crazy crap. Even I can't buy that.
Wow.
Wow. Anyway, it's just a crazy mishmash. We've had the House and Senate, and now I guess they
It's
flip a
vacation
coin.
time, right?
Vacation time. Let's go, everybody. Party.
Yeah, isn't this it? I mean,
This is it. This is it. They're not coming back until September.
Yeah, we don't have time for this, Mark. Come on now.
In September.
Summer break, buddy.
Summer break. They're going out to Laguna Beach, which is a little bit near where Hunley and I are going. So maybe we'll run into some of these senators and some of these congressmen on their summer break, Eric.
Maybe. You mean in Brea? Maybe we could
Brea,
run into
yeah,
the
they're
Nixon
gonna-
Library.
They're going, you know, a lot of the congressmen, Hunley, they like to party like anybody else. And, you know, some of our audience likes to party. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you do it legally, Hunley. That means no drugs, no illicit substances, and you could drink till the cows come home. Look at me. I did it. And I finally had to leave office because I didn't know what day it was, Hunley. That's the truth. They counted the votes. I knew there was trouble. And then this Goldwater, who I endorsed in 1964, the only one who endorsed the son of a bitch, he comes up and says, "You've got to go." And I go, "Go where? I live here. This is my office. I'm not getting out, Hunley." And then Goldwater raises a fuss with all the other Republican congressmen, the rhinos. We didn't know what rhinos were back then, Hunley. I was trying to do something good for the country. Look what they did to me. Look what they did to me, Hunley. I ended up on David Frost's show, a British fag who asked me all kinds of questions. I needed the money, so I took the check and I went with this guy to England, of all places. And now I'm urging the followers of America's Untold Stories to come back to La Brea, come back to Yorba Linda, to Nixon land. Come and join America's Untold Stories, my friends. I think you'll enjoy it for 2 stinking nights of your life.
Agree. Or one afternoon and one evening. Friday, we will be having a live, free form Friday. So the show that you know and love that we do every Friday, you'll be in the room and participating. We'll figure out.
Just don't start yelling crap out because it's a live show.
Yeah, please don't. Don't get
yell out.
ideas.
Please, I know people get crazy, but we don't have like a 5-second delay. So don't come in there as a verbal terrorist throwing shit bombs at everyone.
And folks, I already have too many things to watch, and I have to watch Mark. So don't add to that because
I can't even trust myself.
Right, I have to watch what he says. You guys have to be on good behavior.
Now, the first
Seriously.
night, like the first day, because it starts at 1 o'clock. If you can get in Thursday night, I'd advise it. But even if you show up Friday afternoon, you're still good to go. Like I said, there's all kinds of events next door at the Nixon Library, including Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch signing his new book, which some people might want to purchase and, get the signature from Gorsuch or the whatever you want from him. I think it's about $85. But this is Gorsuch's last stand because the ethics problems with the Supreme Court are legendary. They have hookers, they're doing blow. So Joe Biden is now trying to get a constitutional amendment. Good luck with this one. I mean, you talk about a Hail Mary. This has about as much chance happening as Kamala Harris turning down sex with a powerful man. But the reality of it is 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock in there, we're going to have hors d'oeuvres and drinks. The show will start at 2:30 Eastern time, which is 2:30 Pacific time, which is 5:30 Eastern. And then we'll do the live show just like we did today, but there in the banquet hall. And then afterwards have dinner. That's Friday. And then Saturday night will be 6 to 7 dinner, the Q&A from all of you. And I mean, bring your tough questions. See if I care. See if Hunley and I care how tough your questions are. Bring it on, bro. You write it down, stand up like it's a press conference at the White House. We'll have a list of names to call on with pictures going, okay, let's go. Debbie from Mississippi, what do you got? And then we'll answer your questions, and then we'll drink and party and do what we usually do. So it's both nights. There's plenty of stuff to do in the area. The beach is there. Disneyland is there. Knott's Berry Farm is there. The Nixon Library, like I said, is right down the road. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot of hotels. But Eric is going to point out, if you use the secret code, Eric, what do you get?
Yep. We have a heavy discount with a block of rooms in the hotel where both our events are taking place.
What?
But the tickets are no longer on sale after tomorrow. So July 31st is the drop dead date for the discount for the America's Untold Stories that you will find.
Wait. That's just the hotel, though, right? Or
that's just a hotel.
Right. You can still buy tickets. Tickets for the event will be.
You just won't have the hotel discount.
Right. Okay. Right.
So I'm just letting people know that.
Yeah.
That is a cutoff.
But you can still get tickets for the event.
You can get tickets for the event.
The day of the event.
And you could probably pay full rate for the hotel room or find another hotel in the area.
There's plenty of them. There's plenty of them.
But
we have a break until tonight or tomorrow or
tomorrow night. It ends July 31st.
Okay, good point. So they extended that for us, and Nixon will be there, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. We're going to try to focus on Watergate completely, because after this news goes away of all this crazy assassination stuff, and it's going to die down with Harris because a lot of these guys are going to go on vacation. We're going to just focus straight through on Watergate. And there's plenty of meat on that bone, let me tell you. And you'll see the connections between Trump and the current situation that we find ourselves in to Watergate back in the day, which is why we started this thing.
Yeah, definitely. And while people are supporting us, Stephen McMahon.
McMahon's back. Dun, 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 dun,
I worked a cop, I guess, as a cop for 20 years. We never would have abandoned the roof because of heat. We'd be possibly fired. That is a very weird.
That was then, McMahon. This is now. To quote your father.
Gunface 11 said, with this kid looking up manic depression disorders, could he have had some personality disorder which might explain the conflicting social medias? Absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, also with drug disorder.
SSRIs. I bet he'll probably have SSRIs, maybe in addition to the meth.
I'm going with crystal meth on that. But the important thing is the toxicology report. I really am curious to see that, and I don't know how long it's going to take. Again, they're trying to fast track a lot of this stuff, but let's see if they release that publicly, because they should. He's dead. What difference does it make? And then to interview his fat father, who I'm sure knows a lot of stuff, but he's lawyered up under that Chumbley fear. And I said on Twitter, let's go after this guy. I mean, if it's good enough for the goose, it's good enough for the gander. If they want to go after conservative parents about kids with guns, how about going after these liberal sons of bitches who apparently created this monstrous kid and challenged their legal authority in court?
I agree. Let me see. Skeptic said, if you want to hear some serious BS, watch John Cullen's conspiracy crap.
Dude, I can't. It's done. He's done. We've moved on. this thing will not age well with these two guys, the COVID king of the cryptocurrency, whatever his expert acoustic analysis, and Colin. We've moved on. It's almost like a game of Clue. We found out who did it, and it was a guy named Crooks.
All right, Kim Alice is a new member. Thank you. Thinking too much. Hey guys, been binging your channel ever since I found you 18 months ago. I subbed long ago, but finally had to bite the bullet and subscribe.
Well, subbed and then subscribed. Okay, way to go. Subbed and subscribed. Isn't that the same thing?
It is subscribed on YouTube. So yeah,
right.
They might have been funny.
Yeah.
Alex Davy Duke said, hello, certain people plan to have this assassination blamed on Iran. Has Trump been unalived? The Iran Bitcoin connection, etc. Start a war? Nikki Haley.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean the Iran narrative does work very well for people who would have benefited if Trump did not make it to the convention. That's true.
There's a guy named O'Brien who was his national security advisor. I think his fourth one. I'm not sure. And he had his Secret Service protection pulled by the president a couple of months ago. I think Mike Lee, later in that testimony by Mike Lee, demands that O'Brien reinstate, that the Secret Service reinstate O'Brien's Secret Service protection. There were plots against various members of the team around Trump. That has been proven to be true. O'Brien may or may not have been the target, but this is retaliation, whether they're true or not. Intelligence services are saying the team around Trump, former members of his national security team, have been targeted by Iranian forces, separate from this assassination attempt, by Crooks. Separate issues.
All right. Six Man Films. I think he thought he was smart enough to try and escape. The explosion was decoy to get
you know what? I never thought about that.
I think so too. But
I never thought of that.
But I do want to know more about it. And I want to know more about it because if it's like real explosives like C4 or something, where the hell did he get that? Or the kid was supposed to be somewhat of a genius. Did he concoct his own explosives? Like maybe he was playing with chemistry.
Good point,
or
Hunley.
was it piles of fireworks? I just want to know what they are.
Good point. Okay.
Where he got them and where he got the van.
I'd like to know about the pipe bombers from January 6th, too. What about the pipe bomb? I'd like to know about that, too, bro.
Totally agree.
Who was the pipe bomber?
All right. Thinking Too Much said, as a member now, wanted to let you know that I've tried to tag your channel in comments on other JFK-YT videos, but YouTube either blocks or hides. You can't put
really
links.
do that.
Yeah, you can't put links on channels.
No, it doesn't work.
And I think I even have our channel turned off on links because I'll tell you why. It's not like I'm trying to pick on people, but there are people who will come on the channel and they start these comment threads, and we will delete these where they go, I was really feeling down, but Bill Smith taught me how to earn a fortune with crypto. And then there'll be a reply saying, oh, you have more Bill Smith crypto information?
Yeah.
And then they'll drop links in there. And the whole point is to scam people who are watching the show. Another trick they will do is they will try to have like a channel name that looks like me or Mark, have our picture on it, or literally AOS slogan. And you'll see that they have like TEL and then like asterisks in between. Go to this Telegram site. So these are all scams, and that's why we can't allow the links to go through, because we don't want you guys to get hurt.
I'll tell you something else. If Hunley and I were click crazy, we could easily go down the conspiracy rabbit hole to get more clicks. I mean, believe me, you could get a lot of clicks if we change the narrative that we are espousing here on this channel. I'm not going to do it. I don't give a shit about that. I'm just going to call it like I see it. This is how I see it. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. You could go to some other conspiratorial channels. This is my take. It's not the end of the planet. If you want to go down those roads, go down those rabbit holes, knock yourself out. This is just what I came up with, what Eric has come up with, based on the evidence we have at this moment in time. If things change, I'll change. I'll look into it more. But
I'm going there tomorrow. I'll be there Thursday.
Hunley's going to go there to investigate the whole thing. Hunley's going to go to Subway. He's going to get a sandwich, and then he's going to put his drone up. No, I'm assuming you're going to sit there at that picnic table that he was at.
I got to have bone-in chicken.
Have the bone-in chicken and launch your drone Air Force, Hunley. Put it up there. Don't be afraid. Help the Israelis, Hunley, because that's what I did.
I will be up there with Lynn Westover, sniper.
The sniper.
And
got my
we'll talk about it. You know, the different places, stations, etc. So I think.
But the point of the matter is, if we were really determined to get clicks, we could easily go down that conspiratorial multi-shooter crazy crap rabbit hole. And doesn't it make sense to not do it and to be more truthful with the audience than to milk this freaking thing like these other channels are doing?
Yeah, I mean, we really love hearing how we're idiots and this and that when we don't go.
How we're members of the deep state. I'm a member of the deep state. After many years, Groubert called me up. I was surprised because I had Henry Kissinger was running my foreign policy at the time. And Henry told me, Mr. Nixon, this Groubert is in with the Mossad, and he's one of the deep state. To keep an eye on him, Mr. Nixon.
There you go.
No, it's funny when I met Nixon one time, this Hasidic guy was buying shirts for me, and he tapped Nixon on the shoulder, and Nixon turned around and he went, "Yes," and he goes, "Mr. Nixon," he goes, "Yes," he goes, "Just checking," and he leaves. And it was so, and I just cracked up. It was so funny.
What was Nixon's reaction?
He was just like, "Oh, what was that all about? What was that about?" Just so people don't know, in the channel, there's a number of episodes where I talked about my encounters with Nixon in the custom shirt shop store where I worked. There's a custom episode, I think it's called Custom Shop or something, Eric, where I discuss selling Nixon clothing, which is how I met him for the first time and the second time and the third time. And there's a number of times he was a regular customer. He lived and worked around the corner from the store.
Yeah, I remember. It's the custom shop. There's a playlist. If you want to know about Mark's crazy, upside down, weird ass life, we have a playlist about Mark's life. So if you go scroll down the channel, and I forgot what I called it.
You know, as AOC told me just the other day, I may not win re-election, but I'm going to blow a monkey in the circus.
All right, Scott Bimbo.
Welcome back.
Crooks had 7 days to plan this. Activated? Question mark.
Well, more
Plus,
than
there was
seven.
a horse in the first video. What the hell?
That was the Trump horse. That was someone with a Trump flag. Yeah, that was weird. I noticed the Trump horse going across the ground. Then somebody shows up.
It's farm country, dude. It's farm
But
country.
a guy comes out. Yeah, I know. A guy comes out and he says, "You're all trespassing." Before the shooting happens, a guy comes out and says, "You're all trespassing. Get out of here." And they're like, "Oh, come on, man. You know, come on." And it was like this guy, "No, this is private property. Get off." And he was like shooing them off of where they were along the fence line there. And that's when they saw the cops running around in uniform. And the guy says, "You know, make yourself small, get down. Something's going on here." And then
I kind of love that. It's like, well, yeah, you're busy shooing off these people. Never mind the shooter. He's welcome.
He was welcome. He had a VIP backstage all access pass.
Apparently.
He thought he was at a Dead concert and he wanted people dead.
Yeah, it seems that way. All right. Jesse said, can you guys do a full episode on the Haight-Ashbury Free Medical Clinic, pretty please?
Well, the caps are not going to help you, Jesse. I'll tell you right now, I'm turned off by the caps, which usually indicates psycho. Thanks for the $9.99, but I'd recommend you read the book Chaos by Tom O'Neill and see the interview that Eric did with Tom O'Neill, because he addresses in great detail the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic. So those are two sources to get your information about the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic.
All right. And Shoomfiend.
We did away with that. We did away with that a long time ago, bro. You're about 17 months behind. But if you continue to binge the episode, you'll eventually catch up to this episode.
All right. Alex Duke out of Canada. Nikki Haley was the chosen president for the Uniparty.
I agree.
I
wouldn't say. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go on.
Oh, Biden was accepted to lose to Haley. This is so obvious that Haley always knew she would replace Trump one way or another. Now Kamala, panic.
Well, no, I think that Haley was the accepted candidate in this plot to win the nomination for the Republican Party. I don't think they were going to give up the election to Nikki Haley. But nevertheless, I think she was waiting in the wings if this thing had been more successful than it was. And Pompeo apparently was her VP choice. So that would have been an interesting ticket.
Let's just say I do think that the deep state would be very comfortable with an election with Nikki Haley on one side and Joe Biden or whomever on the other, because they were like, who, heads I win, tails you lose. Who cares?
Absolutely. Or even Harris, for that matter, because Harris,
I don't care.
Yeah, Harris will live longer, less distortion.
Controlled and an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, she has more longevity than Biden does.
True. Julie Binge, new member. Thank you. Scott Bimbo gifted a membership. So he went to a B&B and gifted a membership. Reg is a new member. Thank you very much.
What's up, bro? What's up, Reg? What's up, bro?
And Al Gonzalez is stepping up for you, saying Mark is correct. In this specific scenario, warning shots would be justified.
Thank you. Thank you.
As a credible threat exists. I think that's an opinion. There's a lot of other cops who disagree.
Wait a minute. That's a cheap shot. How dare you, Hunley? How dare you? We'll talk to Al on Friday about this in more detail.
I'll hold it up. Put up the dukes.
You could talk to him face to face, Hunley. Tough guy, huh? Wait till Gonzalez comes on the show. Not so tough then.
Hey, I'll have my sniper with me.
Well, Gonzalez is coming on Friday to talk about Secret Service protection in New York City. So we'll talk to Al some more on Friday.
All right. Thank you too much. Have to add, your channel is a perfect balance of history and humor. Two subjects I greatly enjoy. I'd love to talk American history with Mark sometime. Well,
yeah, how about buying a ticket and coming down to Brea? How about coming down?
Okay.
Hunley, why won't this cheap bastard buy a ticket? I had to buy a ticket just to run for Congress. I mean, come on. My wife had a cheap cloth coat. I had this dog that had syphilis, Hunley. Checkers, my dog. It was a feeble dog that we found in the pound down in Yorba Linda. Why can't this man simply come to the meetup, Hunley?
I know, but Richard, while you're there, our president, Jesse wants to yell again. Can you guys please do full episode on Haight-Ashbury?
That's the same person?
Yes. It's still yelling.
Wow. I guess it didn't work out up there in San Francisco.
All right. MK Ultra is here. Do you know if anybody in the hearings asked about the briefing before the rally?
They did.
Supposedly.
They did.
Okay.
So he claimed, and I'll address this because I heard that this morning. The acting director of the Secret Service claimed that they had the briefing with the locals. The locals claimed they did not have the briefing. That's where we are. Somebody's not telling the truth.
Well, and as I opened with, he's laying the framework. They had one job, one roof to protect. The one we didn't bother with. No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying I don't know the answer, but he said that they did meet with them. So just to set that record straight, I did hear that this morning.
All right, fair enough. Thank you too much says, one of my favorite parts of this channel is how Mark comedically insults his contributors while thanking them for the money. I'll have to find a way to annoy him and get insulted.
Dude, we're just having fun. I really am thankful for the money, and it's just kidding around. So,
and then
that being said, I mean, you are a bunch of fat bastards, and I wish you would get off the couch and come down and hang out with us in Brea. Jesus Christ, what does it take to get you people out of the house?
And you will have fun.
Yeah.
Thurston Howe the third question: what was Milhouse's favorite alcoholic drink?
You know, it's a good question because maybe he was a Scotch guy. I'm not sure. He did. I'll address this when we get into Nixon's episode, but I believe he was an alcoholic because the two drinks that he then took were the limit that he could have, and everybody in the White House was on guard and I mean the inner circle was on guard to prevent him from having more than two drinks. And the reason I mentioned two drinks is A, it's written about in everybody's memoir. B, he says it kind of himself. He goes into an entire chapter in one of his own memoirs, Nixon, about the drinking habits of every single person around the world, from Chou En-lai to de Gaulle. I mean, it's just like weird. But also the reason two drinks is of interest is because it takes about 20 years for the alcoholic cycle to go full cycle. And then your liver doesn't process alcohol anymore. So the two drinks which your tolerance may have been 25 drinks in your heyday. But after about 18 to 20 years, the liver shuts it down. And that's why you have a blackout, not you, but I'm saying that's why a person who is an alcoholic goes into a blackout after just 2 drinks because it's reverse process. The liver can't process it any longer, and it shuts you down mentally. That's where he was at the end of his career, was the 2-drink minimum. So it lends the credence among some people close to him that he, including Barry Goldwater, who wrote in his memoir that I just got, thanks to the Watergate Book Fund. I thank you again, because the books, I've never bought more books on one subject in my life, because there's never been so many books on one subject in my life. Everyone's got a memoir. Everyone's got a take on it, including James Rosen, who's written the most fascinating book on John Mitchell, which I'm trying to get into. I just got the James Rosen book, who's agreed to come on the show at some point when he finishes his second Scalia book. I didn't know there was a first Scalia book, but he's into his second Scalia book. He said he'd come on the show and talk to us about the biography and by James Rosen of John Mitchell.
Nice.
But that being said, I just want to thank everybody for donating to the book fund, because it is, some of them are really cheap. Like I got like a lot of the Hunt books that are just pulp novels, like Eric pointed out. They're kind of, you know, collector's items, but there are memoirs by John Sirica. There's memoirs and multiple books by Haldeman and Ehrlichman. Nixon himself has about 4 or 5 memoirs himself, Eric. And in there, he talks about drinking and things of that nature to answer that question. So I don't know what his favorite drink was, to be honest with you. It was dry martinis for many, many, many years. It was all about martinis. And some people change over the years.
We're calling Dustin Russell. He'll know.
Yeah, some people change over the years, but for many, many years, Nixon was a martini guy, if that helps.
All right. Stephen McMahon said the story was Crooks actually pointed a rifle at a cop. The cop was justified in squeezing off a shot. The cop was hanging from the roof line and really couldn't be firing. He fell down, broke his ankle. Maybe he could have shot up then, but you know, by then the shots were already going off.
Well,
So,
you're correct, of course. But the problem is now he has the high ground at that point. So all the cops running around the building, even if he didn't shoot for the next 20 minutes, Eric, it becomes a problem of physics. Like, how do you get this cat off a hot tin roof? It's up, he's up there, and now you're running around like, look what the cops are doing. They're looking up at the building. It's kind of awkward because you're powerless.
Yeah, they're trying. How do I get?
Somebody's got to climb up a ladder, or a sniper's got to take his head off, which is what happened.
Right. Thank you too much. I'm not offended. It's good nuggets of levity inserted between a lot of heavy info. Makes my day while listening at work.
That's kind of the intention, bro. That's kind of the intention. Thanks. Yeah,
and then Jesse is yelling at us again, saying,
"Whoa,
I'm not a psycho."
Oh, that's the famous tip-off that you're a psycho. You know, there was a serial killer in New Jersey who famously killed all these. I forget the guy's name now. He's from New Jersey. It wasn't Harvey Glattman. It was someone else in New Jersey who famously ran out of ammo, killed everyone. Was in Camden, New Jersey, and killed as many people as he could. Sat on the curb. And when the police showed up, he simply said, "I'm no psycho." That was in the front page of the paper.
Perfect headline. And then Jim tells you
psycho.
Is a member for 7 months. Who's blocked by Lex Friedman on X? Dudes is soft. I don't know. I never looked.
Yeah, I never looked.
I mean,
maybe a lot of people. Who's Lex Friedman? Lex Luthor?
Lex Friedman's a weird guy.
Who's that guy?
He's an MIT professor of robotics that somehow got a podcast that gets millions of views.
Right.
Joe Rogan loves him completely to the point of gifting him a $10,000 Rolex because he's just enamored of him. He reeks of a deep state operative. Because he like out the gate gets all these people, you know, MIT robotics. He's Ukrainian, Russian born. Anyway, there's a weird. I don't know if he was born in Russia or Ukraine. I think you said that he has relatives in both, but
sketchy nevertheless.
He's a very peculiar dude.
You know who's peculiar? That chick from Hawaii, that Democratic senator who was on the committee today with the glasses. Holy crap. There's something wrong with her, man. She is mentally ill. I mean, her questions, she sounded like an AI version of herself. Quinone or whatever her name is, the senator from.
I didn't see her. So.
No, but I'm saying people know who's the name of her. She's been on these committees before. Holy cow, is she stupid or what? There's something wrong with her.
Hirono?
Hirono. Yeah. Holy cow, there's something wrong with her.
All right,
seriously wrong.
On that, we are going to head over to
I'm
locals.
not going with you. You can't make me go over there.
No, I'll see Richard Nixon over there.
I'm a former champion of the world. I don't have to go over there, Hunley. I could take care of Groubert, and I could still fight. I could fight someone. I can. I smoke weed all day. But so what?